Last week I led a presentation on training zones, and I want to talk today about one particular aspect of that presentation that we spent a good amount of time on, and that was the anaerobic threshold. Now, the anaerobic threshold is the point within your effort where you switch from predominantly aerobic means to fuel that effort, and aerobic means with oxygen or using oxygen, to predominantly anaerobic means which does not use oxygen to fuel that effort. And this is a really important point to understand, because below the anaerobic threshold in what we call zone 4, an athlete can hold effort or hold that pace, a zone 4 pace, for 40 to 60 minutes for the most well-trained athlete. Now that is a good amount of time. But above the anaerobic threshold, just a few beats higher of heart rate, just a few watts higher of wattage, or a few seconds faster with running pace or swimming pace, the body greatly fatigues, and an athlete can only hold this effort for about 10 to 15 minutes at the very most for the most well-trained athlete. So obviously, it is really important to know when you are under the anaerobic threshold and when you are above the anaerobic threshold. Now, a lot of people think of this area or switch from aerobic to anaerobic as a light switch. So you get to the anaerobic threshold and it's just you're only aerobic under and you're only anaerobic above, but that's not quite what's happening. So as you approach the anaerobic threshold, you are using some anaerobic means to fuel your effort. And when you're above the anaerobic threshold, just above especially, you're still using some aerobic means to fuel that effort as well. But it is really important that you know what this point is, because it is going to be used to establish all your other training zones. It is going to dictate how we do specific workouts, and it's going to dictate how we pace certain efforts and pace in a race situation. So it's really important that you identify what the anaerobic threshold is for you. And for all of the individual modalities, swimming, cycling, running, rowing, everything that you do, we want to know where that anaerobic threshold is. Now, there's a lot of different ways to identify it. You can do it through lab testing. We do VO2 max testing here, which is the best way to identify what your anaerobic threshold is. You can do it through some field testing, be it heart rate testing out in the field, or finding your anaerobic threshold pace through doing a specific protocol, or you can look at data files, or you can look at a race effort to be able to identify what your anaerobic threshold is. But however you do it, you need to find out what your anaerobic threshold is and start training specifically knowing this information. Training just under the anaerobic threshold will increase endurance and comfort and ultimately push your anaerobic threshold up. Training above your anaerobic threshold will get you comfortable with efforts that are above. It'll get you comfortable with dealing with the accumulation of lactate, and will ultimately pull your anaerobic threshold up. And there's a place for both efforts, as well as time and other zones as well. And so I just want to encourage you today, figure out what that anaerobic threshold is and really zero it in for you. Now, I encourage you, we posted the whole presentation on Facebook Live. And so I encourage you to go to the Endorphin Fitness Facebook page and watch the whole presentation so you can learn how to train this properly. And if you like these videos that we do and you learn something from that, definitely like this video and subscribe to our page. You should check out our page for a lot of helpful content like this one so that you can train better, faster, and